Welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast, top of the table edition, at least at time of recording. Got a full house tonight. You got Matt, you got Parker, you got myself, Andy. Boys, how we doing?
Parks.
You have to direct it at one of us, otherwise we don't know who to start with.
Otherwise,
I
it's
got,
one of
I,
us.
I got nothing.
It's both of us pointing at each other like, you go. No, you
Yeah,
go.
I'll start. I'm fine. It's been a long day with the early AM kickoff. So that is 5:30 a.m. Mountain Time for those keeping track. So definitely was not at the pub today, but I was able to catch the match. Otherwise, it's been a relatively good weekend, and we um, we are packing up and going to Salt Lake City for the week. So we're heading tomorrow morning and 7 hour drive and go explore a new town for us. And for those wondering at home, we are bringing our own alcohol because in Mormonville, we don't know exactly how easy it'll be to acquire alcohol. So that'll be fun. But then the other kind of fun highlight for me this week was I got to smoke 17 pounds of pulled pork for my office. And gave a talk on what I do, which no one understands anything that I do. I'm the only person that does what I do in my office. So people have been asking me like, "Hey, what's your job again? Like, remind me what that is." So I decided to do a little bit of a lunch and learn. Fed the people, and everyone enjoyed that, and then had some good dialogue on what we do. So they're insurance folks, so they at least kind of get it, but still goes over like their head. About 95% of it goes over their head. So, but it was a fun week. It's always fun to feed a crowd and have your cooking be appreciated. So that's me in a nutshell this week. Matt, how you doing, man?
Yeah, we're doing good. I unfortunately did not get a chance to watch the game this morning. I was up in time for it, but I was overruled by my 2.5-year-old. So we ended up watching a goofy movie instead. Priorities. You got to make the kid happy. But no, actually, so two kind of funny stories. So yesterday we finished up our family walk. My wife, both my boys, and then our two dogs. And so my oldest son, we're playing basketball in the driveway, and you guys have seen we have the inflatable pool in the driveway with the basketball hoop just slid right next to it. Well, I'm just shooting hoops, whatever, and he wants to try. So, okay, cool. He can't make it that far trying to shoot it across the pool, but bless his heart, he tries. Lands in the pool. Okay, fine. He tries to go in and just get the ball out of there. Sure, fine. He's done it a million times. He learned a lesson in physics that something that is inflated with air, when it gets colder, it has a tendency to deflate a little bit. So, long story short, he ended up falling into the pool fully clothed at like 7 o'clock last night. It was a very tough battle between my wife and I trying to figure out who was going to stop laughing first to go tend to him. The kid is pure comedy. Circle back to today. My wife asks my oldest son, all right, do you want to go to the zoo today? Cool. So she ends up taking the boys. And I say, hey, doing my good thing as a dad. I said, Miles, do you want dad to go with you to the zoo? Or do you want dad to stay home and cut the grass? He looks at me, he goes, you don't go to the zoo, you cut the grass. So I ended up cutting the grass today. So, you know, the man knows what he wants. I can't fault him for that. So that's how my last few days have been going. That kind of sums up the week right there. I just take orders from a miniature version of me, pretty much. So, other than that, everything's great. Collins, how about you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a week. One of my sisters who lives locally here, her dog passed away this week, unexpectedly in the middle of the night. So it's been a little bit of a tough week for the family. Um, Compound that with driving all the way to Minneapolis yesterday, waking up at 3:30 in the morning to be there for a 9:30 a.m. meeting, and then get there at 9:15. And guy had emailed me 5 minutes prior saying, "Hey, I'm sick. I couldn't make it to the office. We do this on Tuesday." So good start to the weekend. Nice little, pretty much 12 hours of nonstop driving for me. So I will say, I am very, very fortunate, very blessed. Wife and son let me sleep in this morning. I got to watch the Chelsea game, watched it late. Parker, thank you for the updates. I did not see them. But I slept till 11 this morning, which was great. So it is what it is. Start of a 3-day weekend. And like I said, boys, we're top of the table going into Sunday here. Parker, since you were the only one to watch the match live and get those initial reactions, you want to fill us in a little bit? What were the highs? What were the lows? What's your big takeaway?
Sure. To be honest, there was more lows than highs, kind of highlighted by the Liam Delap injury. Chelsea and hamstrings have never got along. It seems like, the past few years, 4 or 5 years, hammy problems. And so, he was sprinting after a ball and he just kind of comes up. And the second he comes up, you're just like, yep, you know exactly what that is. And it doesn't look good. It's what, 6, 8 weeks minimum, probably, which just kind of sucks. It takes the wind out of your sails when you feel like you've got something working and having two strikers and then playing together, where Joao Pedro's kind of been occupying that 10 role and having Delap as the number 9. Tough kind of first stint for Delap now, and I think it's going to be pressure for him when he comes back to not only prove himself and prove his worth, but like also work with a hammy. I see Reece James of how tough it is to kind of come back and kind of rehab it properly and then not go all out and do kind of limited minutes to get back on it. But to be honest, boys, the first half of this game was not pretty. And it's amazing we got out of the first half with a goal and not down. So to end the first half 1-0 up was kind of a miracle in its own. And then I think we kind of handled our business in the second period and dominated, for lack of a better term, and really kind of controlled the game and did a lot of the things that you would have expected us to do for a full 90. So I just looked sloppy. Enzo Fernandez didn't have his best game. It didn't look like. It seemed like he was kind of all over the place, playing sloppy balls, and we just didn't really have that like stint of possession for like 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes where we kind of controlled things and tried to break a team down. Seemed like it was much more, I don't want to say back and forth or end to end because it wasn't like all action, but it was definitely more in like the balance with both teams kind of attacking and pushing from both sides. So it's one of those games though. It's a local derby. It's Fulham. It's Southwest London. It's rivalry. They got the better of us at least once last year, right? That was a Boxing Day game, and I think then we beat them late on. I think that was the Pedro Neto goal, if I remember right. So split it last year. And Fulham is one of those teams where I think they've done almost nothing this transfer window. So the team that they have is pretty much the team that they've been having, and that they're a little bit more gelled than we are. Not to make excuses on it, but yeah, they play decent. They don't wow you. They don't play amazing. But man, it's going to be a different game if we go down 1-0 to that decision, the decision that's been getting all of the press. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but different game. But I think obviously hindsight looking at it, I think we still would have done enough to win it. It just it would have been a lot tougher had we gone down. But yeah, credit to like us finding a way to score in the 54th minute of the +8 added time in the first half or whatever that was. That goal was pretty. That Joao Pedro goal was nice. And then I think the handball that was given was fairly given, and that was an unnatural position to be in. So Enzo Fernandez, despite me saying he didn't have a great game, still ended up with a goal and an assist. So uh, you know what? I'm never going to discredit someone from taking a penalty properly and scoring. And so did enough to win. And we've said this 1,000 times on this pod, but winning ugly is better than looking pretty and losing. So you take the win, take the 3 points, and go home.
And that was kind of my impression, or my first reaction, I guess you'd say, after watching after the fact, was this is what a good team does. It's You're not playing at your best, but you still find a way to pull it out. Um, in years past, I think about how a Chelsea team would have reacted to going down and then having it reversed on VAR and all that. We would have been shit for the rest of the match, right? It would have been a dogfight the rest of the way. Um, Finding ways to get goals when you are not at the top of your game is a good sign. And I think you hit it on the head perfectly when you were talking about it's a local derby. It's all that comes with that. I was looking up earlier in the week when I was thinking about preemptively what kind of pod topics we'd be talking about, and it didn't really play out in this one. But coming into this one, 7 out of the last 9 matches we've had with Fulham have come down to 1 goal, which is pretty impressive for the gulf between Chelsea and Fulham. So Marco Silva's side is going to come in and they're going to be aggressive and they're going to take their chances. Like you said, Boxing Day last year, I listened to that one on the radio driving to work. That was terrible to listen to. You got memories of that. So well done to the team getting it done today.
The other quick thing I'm going to say is just Joao Pedro. The start that he's had for us has been incredible. And just the Premier League start of 2 goals, 2 assists has been great in the 3 matches. But then you rewind the clock to the Club World Cup where I think he added 3 more goals. It's been a phenomenal start for him.
The one thing that does concern me, at least in these first 3 matches, is the fact that we always start off behind, more or less. Obviously the Palace one 0-0. Same thing against West Ham. They get a goal early and then we have to turn it on. You could make the argument during the Fulham game today that it was the same case. They score and then we have to turn it on.
As they scored in that Palace game too, that got disallowed.
Yes. Yes, thank you. So it's somewhat concerning that we have to basically go down in order to actually start playing at a level that we should be coming out and starting at. And I think that's probably the more disheartening part of it is I think all 3 matches we've been kind of lulled by the first probably 15, 20 minutes. It just doesn't look like anybody really wants to take a hold of the game until something big happens, and usually not in our favor. I think that needs to change because you're not always going to be able to turn it on at any point. I think if you're able to start ahead, then you're obviously going to be better off and in a much stronger position. But having to constantly fight back, at least in these first 3 matches, I think is something that I'd like to see change as we go forward. It's not sustainable throughout our very lengthy season that we have this year.
So, Matt, because you and me never agree, I'm sure this won't change your mind, but I have thought about that. Absolutely, that we start slow every match, and I think this is a big contributing reason here is that we played a 62 game schedule last year that ended at the middle of July. Other teams were already a month into their winter break or their summer break. These teams were just starting to come back from holiday, start preseason training. Our guys did this tournament, came back from preseason training or came back from their holiday, had 2 weeks of preseason as opposed to a month and a half of preseason. This is a team not yet in mid-season form. The fact that we've made it now to the international break with 7 points is fantastic because this is where we're going to catch up in terms of form and fitness with the rest of the league, right? Eventually, those levels have to even out. And I think what you're seeing is a team that didn't have that full preseason, didn't have that full month and a half to gel with a bunch of new guys coming in, people getting up to fitness. They played, they stop for 3 weeks, they come back and they start training again. And then boom, the season starts. I think give it another week or so and we will be back on par with the rest of the league in terms of readiness. I mean, you look at the other example of who went to the Club World Cup, City has struggled a little bit at the start of the season here too. There's something a little off with playing a tournament in the middle of summer and having it be competitive.
The announcers talked about that and they said just with the way that the Club World Cup, and then you've got the World Cup, and then you've got Euros and others. Like some of these guys that are in it, they might not get a break like that for a while. The only thing I disagree with Collins is like fitness. You can talk about fitness. Heavy schedule last year, heavy tournament right in the middle of the season, but I don't. The form part is the other side of the coin where they didn't have other teams went 3 months or 2.5 months without playing, so their gelling would be worse. Our gelling should be better because it has been not as long since we've played together. And now you can add like Gittins and Estevao into like new pieces, but for the rest of them, they played together at the World Cup, so I'm not giving them the excuse of not being in form together because they've had less time off than the others. So they should arguably be better at that.
Yeah, that was going to be the other thing is like, yeah, throwing in a couple new people during the transfer window, it's going to happen to every team, regardless of if you're doing preseason or a club tournament. Every team is going to have new players coming in. Like, obviously, that's just the norm. That's just the business part of it. To say that we didn't have a long enough preseason, to me, you're playing in the Club World Cup against some of the best teams in the world. You're not just there as, the preseason tour playing MLS teams in the US like we did, what was it, 3 years ago? Like it's not something like that where you're just bringing a bunch of your youth players just to get them out there and see what they can do. No, we're running starting lineups during these matches. So to me, I don't that means almost nothing. Like we should be in mid-season, if not above mid-season form coming off of the Club World Cup. Yes, they have a break, they deserve it, they have holiday, cool. Then they get back into preseason. But at the same time, just because you have a couple new players coming in, that should not change things that drastically to where not having a full preseason is now considered kind of like an excuse. They've been playing top level competition all summer. To me, they should be ready to go.
See, but you guys are making it out to be they went to the Club World Cup, came home, and immediately started training in the preseason. It hasn't been a constant since the Club World Cup. The club granted what is a 3 week holiday for these
Mhm.
guys afterwards. Lose all that form, lose all that chemistry. Like season starts over at that point, right? It's the same as when a team, Fulham, for example, ends their season in May, 3 week holiday, then they start training. They get 8 weeks of training as a group at their training facility. That form, that chemistry, that's where that's built. We had 3 weeks.
I understand what you're saying. I get
And
you.
I
and,
get
and
it. I get it too. I just don't agree with it.
all right. Well, before we get to transfers, Parker, I know you alluded to the striker position. Before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about the referee decision because man, Marco Silva was hot after this one. At times, probably deservedly so. But real quick, want to get it, before we get into the real meat of it. The new Premier League official uniforms are terrible. Those are the ugliest things I've ever seen. Just bring back the straight black. That's all you need to do. Anyways, so we had two big VAR decisions. One being the Josh King goal being overruled, turned back. And the second, of course, being the handball that led to the penalty. We also had a bit of extended time. Parker, as you mentioned, allowed João Pedro to score in the 54th plus minute. What do we think of Premier League officiating?
Collins, take one of those and what do you think?
I'll take the stoppage time because that seemed to be the real big bitching moment for a while there. I understand the first VAR moment. I won't even get into because I think that one was questionable. But the 54th minute, we have been told as Chelsea fans when this shit happens to us 4 or 5 times a year that, oh, that stoppage time, that's a minimum amount of time. Cool. It's the minimum. This time we got to take advantage of it for the first time in years. I'm done with the whole, okay, these rules apply when they go against Chelsea, but they don't apply when they go for Chelsea. I see it all the time when I go to Ford Madison matches. I see it when I watch MLS. I see it when I watch the national team. That extra time is a guideline. plus 6 minutes, cool. Could be plus 10. The how much how much time are you spending laying on the ground? How much time are you taking to throw the ball in? How many corners? How many stoppages in play are that? Like you got to factor all that in, even in stoppage time. That part I have absolutely no issue with is the stoppage time. I can see why Marco Silva was pissed. I'd be pissed if I was a Fulham fan. But looking at the rules of the game and how stoppage time is interpreted, it's a minimum. Deal with it.
How do you feel about +8 given at both halves, though? I mean, that's a lot.
It is, but I'm thinking back to our other two games of this season, and it seems to be a push from PGMOL is to make sure we're giving the correct amount of stoppage time, not just, oh, well, it seemed a little longer. So 4 minutes, that seems right.
Yeah. So
Um,
we're doing World Cup rules, kind of, or modified World Cup rules.
Kind of, yeah. But I mean, even against Palace, even against West Ham, there's a lot of stoppage time in those games for less things going on. Um, I have no problem with it. The amount of time wasting that happens in this sport, let me get my money's worth that I'm paying to NBC Sports.
All right, I'll take the elephant in the room, which is the Josh King goal penalty that or foul that got ruled back. It's a tough one. I don't think it was a foul. I think it's a really tough one to give, and I think the over officiating is a lot. And the other thing that like leads to me believing this match was over officiated was when the handball was given, they looked at just about everything. They looked at like four or five other incidents leading up to the handball. So it's like they determined that yes, it's a handball. Now they're going to look at Joao Pedro. Did he have a handball before that? Did they looked at Caicedo? Was that a foul before that? It's like they're looking at every minuscule thing that leads up to something now, and I think that sets a really dangerous precedent going forward, especially if so in a corner there's only a couple instances, but like what if you're just in normal build-up play and you're a team that's got possession for 4 minutes? Are they going to look at every fucking incident from the 4 minutes leading up to that goal to see if any infraction was committed? Which again is going to lead us to more stoppage time because you're spending all that time looking at everything. Um, I think is a really unfortunate one given and a sad one for Josh King, who did pretty brilliantly to score that goal. Tough one for him to kind of swallow and not have that one count for him on his stats. It's going to count in his heart, but it's not going to count on the stat sheet. If- the only like the only like disagreement that I had was with the Robbies at halftime and at full time, they were talking about it's a footballing move, it's a footballing move, it's a footballing move. And it made me think like just because it's a footballing move doesn't mean it can't be a foul. Like those two things aren't mutually exclusive. And the example I had in my head was like, hey, if I'm in the box and it's a corner kick and I go for a bicycle kick and I kick Matt in the face, sorry, Matt, but if I kick you in the face,
I know it's intentional at that point.
it's a foul, right? Like bicycle kick is a football in play, and if I kick you in the face, it's a foul. Like both things can be true, and so a stomp on the foot can be a foul, even if you're doing, a twirly move and you didn't mean to, and your foot has to come down somewhere. That said, very harsh. On a scale from 1 to 10 on harsh, I thought it was like a 9. It felt very punitive and not something that should be. If it's called in real time, I understand it. If it's not, I would prefer that to go away and let the flow of play take care of stuff like that.
So in the background, I've kind of been watching the highlights. So I've seen said incidents now with respect to the disallowed goal. Had that been, and I'll just play the side of the argument. Had that been for Chelsea, would you have been pissed that that was called? Yes, you would have. Like it's you get it, you understand it. It's one of those things like when I first saw it, I was like, I don't really see anything. The more I watch it, yes, it does land on his ankle. Stuff happens. I understand that. to me, the big issue comes down to two things. A, what we've always talked about is consistency. There is none. There hasn't been for a very long time. The second thing is it's the beginning of a new season with slightly new rules. We saw this last year, right? Whenever somebody who's not the captain goes and talks to an official, you're supposed to get carded. That happened the first 2 weeks, maybe three, and then we never saw it again. I think it's a case of that. They're trying to do things by the new letter of the law, whatever that may be, and it's going to disappear as the season goes on. I think it's a circumstance of that.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring that up on my end. I had forgot about the you can't approach the referee. I was going to talk about the time wasting, how that was supposed to be a foul. I think that was 2 seasons ago. And we saw it for the first 3 matches and got to the international break, and then it was never an issue ever again. But my favorite, and you brought up the two Robbies, but my favorite media issue with this was Mike Dean's reaction to it today. Of like, see, I just had his quote up here. It's such a poor call. VAR just needs to stay out of it. It's just a complete accident. This is the same Mike Dean who has gone public with saying he did not send Anthony Taylor to review Romero pulling Cucurella by the hair, dragging him to the ground because the game was already such a heated moment. I didn't want to put Anthony through that. And shut the fuck up, man. Anybody who's ever been in any relation to VAR, especially Mike Dean, shut the fuck up. Because we talk about, hey, if this was the opposite, if this was a Chelsea goal disallowed, I can tell you if this was a Chelsea goal that was disallowed, it would be covered for 30 seconds. We'd never hear about it ever again. Because it benefited Chelsea, it causes outrage. So I got to ask you the question based off of that, boys. Are we back?
Obviously back. I'm going to ignore that comment and just make my own instead. One thing I like, it's something I like and then dislike, but I like the fact that the referee gives a actual explanation when the call gets made now. It's not just a point. He explains sort of the rule. It's kind of taken from rugby and and the NFL where they kind of give an explanation. The thing I don't like is that the announcers know what the decision is because they get to hear the one way VAR to ref dialogue, so they understand what it is. So they spoil it, which sucks. Like if you're gonna like have a kind of a build up moment, then shut up about it and don't tell us what it is. So that needs to kind of get figured out, and I think it will. The announcers took very large issue to the call, and they said things like, we need to be careful about how we talk about this because it is our job. But they were very much against the call as well. And I think they're looking at it in the spirit of the game. But the other funny thing that I think it was Robbie Musto said uh, was he said, was this a clear and obvious error, which was the heart of VAR when it first came out. I don't think VAR has been clear and obvious error for 3 or 4 years. It has been a complete re-underwriting of the rules, in slow motion from every angle. If we've been instituting VAR just to do clear and obvious errors, fine, but it hasn't been that for a long, long time now. So, Matt, you say it all the time, but yeah, if we had some sort of level of consistency with how things like this get handled, with how precedent gets set and then gets sort of litigated going forward, that would be wonderful. But we haven't had that, and it sucks.
Parker, I like the comment about them having the one-way access to the one-way communication because one thing, and I've been watching college football basically nonstop all day today. One thing the Premier League needs is to hire Mike Pereira. Just get rid of the one-way communication. Allow the broadcasters to speculate, and then bring on Mike Pereira, rules analyst, to break down the replays that we're watching. Because you're right, it builds that intensity. I don't know, so that it's got that build up there, and then you're like,
It
fuck
adds
you, Mike, and then he's right.
It adds to the entertainment value. If anything, bring Clattenburg back. I actually didn't mind when they had Clattenburg on to talk about some of the decisions. Like they would have him on like NBC Sports or whatever, like a few times or whatever. I didn't mind him chiming in on what his thoughts were. I'd be okay with Klatz coming back and just taking a look at that. Hell of a lot better than Dr. Joe Macknick trying to give his 2 cents.
I was
Doctor of
just I was
what?
just about to say, bring him back. I love that guy.
That was terrible.
Out of here.
The Germans. All right. Well, Chelsea may or may not be back, but you know who's not back in London right now? That's Nico Jackson. Boys, I feel like we need to talk about this. Liam Delap, obviously injured. Parker, you mentioned out probably 6 to 8 weeks. I don't think we've seen an official confirmation from the club yet, but that's the typical turnaround on a pretty bad hamstring. It was bad enough that Chelsea had to cancel Nicholas Jackson's approval for a medical in Munich as he was on the plane from London to Munich. So he lands, gets to Bayern's training center, and Bayern tell him, nope, you got to go home. Jackson has refused to go home. He is spending the night in Munich. Uh, his agent posting all kinds of cryptic things on Instagram. Um, where do we want to start on this one? What happens with Nico Jackson? Who wants to speculate?
From the Chelsea side of things or from my own side of things?
Well, Matt, we know that you will pay the transfer fee for him to sign for Munich.
Still?
Yes. So when 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 you guys first told me that, my immediate thought was, why? Like you got to think about this scenario. Yes, Liam Delap, your number 2 striker, whatever. He goes down. We're about to hit international break, and he wasn't, I don't think he was even called up to the England squad. So that already gives you a little bit of a cushion and time for him to recover, right? It's going to be 2 weeks roughly. So cut that down to 4 to 6. We've been able to survive and arguably thrive with Nico being out and having Pedro Neto kind of filling in that false nine. And it honestly, it hasn't looked bad. I'm not saying that should be a premier option, but it's not a bad fail safe. Additionally, you just brought in Garnacho, so it's more strength on the wing, and you free up whenever he's back, Cole Palmer, right? Esteval is kind of holding his own on the right. If we need somebody else in that false line, like we have so many options. We've talked about all the options in the attack. To me, bringing or attempting to bring Nico Jackson back still does nothing for the team. It doesn't do anything positive. We've been playing pretty well without him going back to the Club World Cup and the end of last season because he wasn't available. We've been fine. He doesn't seem to have a place on this team anymore. It seems like that stance has been pretty clear. Why are we even thinking about bringing him back? To me, it doesn't make sense. It seems like a panic move from Chelsea, and that is not something that inspires confidence. Be like, hey, we want to get rid of this guy. He's not in our plans. But wait, somebody goes out. Wait, call him back. That's a panic move. And I don't think that we have any reason to panic right now.
I agreed with everything up until the panic move part. We didn't recall him, right? We didn't terminate a loan. Nothing was signed. All we did was give him permission to go to Munich for a physical or for his medicals or whatever you call it. We have one striker. João Pedro wasn't even signed to be a striker. If you look back at Enzo Maresca's comments around the time of the signing, he was signed to be a number 10. He was signed to work with Cole Palmer and around Cole Palmer in that number 10 role, possibly on the left wing. So if you look at it from that perspective, we have zero. A panic would have been, all right, we still allow Nico to go, but now let's go sign 28-year-old, I don't know, shit player out of the Bundesliga for 50 million pounds because everybody knows that we need a striker. That would have been a panic. This is all of Nico Jackson's making. If you think back to the Club World Cup, he was training with the team, he was playing with the team. Yes, he got the red card in the tournament. I understand that. But all the reporting during that when asked was, hey, he's part of the squad. We want him part of the squad. We're not actively looking to sell him. If the right offer comes in, we'll listen. And it would, at that time, it was, hey, there are like three guys that we would never listen to an offer for. Nico is a guy that we would listen to an offer for. About 2 days later is when all the stuff came out of Nico Jackson wants out. Nico Jackson will not train with the team. Nico Jackson wants to be sold. Nico Jackson doesn't want competition. This is a Nico Jackson problem. He's the idiot that signed a 9-year contract. And then we have not gone out and signed anybody for 2 years. He has been the starter for just about every match that he's available for 2 years at this club. We go out and we finally get him back up in Liam Delap. He's like, nah, they don't like me anymore. I'm out. I think he absolutely would have been a part of the plans had he not been a little crybaby bitch about it. And you know why he wants to go to Bayern? Because Harry Kane's going to retire in a year or two. And then he's the guy that yeah, no, he's in Rom status right now for me. He has completely pulled one over. And no, they're Parker he's smirking. There will not be a redemption tour for Nico Jackson. But back to your point, Matt, I don't think that this was a panic move by Chelsea. I think this was, hey, you're on our roster. We haven't given any permission to anybody for anything. We haven't signed anything. Come on back. You're still our player.
So are you happy to see him back or no?
I think the next let's see, the next 40 hours are going to be very important until that window closes. I think he is still going to be out the door if we can find a suitable replacement for him. I think Bayern will come back with an offer. They had the 15 million pound loan fee, whatever you want to call it. And then there was an option to buy for 65 million on top of that. I think if we get 55 to 60 for him, we will take it. And somebody else we brought in. If we don't bring anybody else in, I think he stays and he's on the bomb squad unless needed.
Yeah, I think he's used as needed for sure, right? I think we don't try to play him, but he'll be a suitable backup, kind of a U23 training player, and then get suited up if we need him. But I think this is I think it's a very smart business move to bring him back while we still had a chance to. I didn't see it as a panic move at all. It's to me, this felt like the Trev move, but before anything got finalized, like in where everything was known. Like we're very lucky this happened while the window's still open and while paperwork hadn't been finalized. Otherwise, you are kind of just screwed. You gotta deal and figure out and resort to playing people sort of out of position. And I don't think that anyone really wanted that. So um I feel like he's going to get a start or two, and it's going to be very interesting to watch his body language and see how like his teammates respond to him being out there, because I feel like he's going to get a shot or two to play. Otherwise, I don't really know how we line up. I mean, are we moving Joao Pedro to the certified 9 role, for the foreseeable? Is that how we line up? I'm curious. I have no idea.
I would guess that we do, just on the way he's playing right now. I mean, gosh, you look at his headers alone. That's an element we didn't have for the last 2-3 years. I think until Delap's back, I think he's our number 9 for sure.
Again, we've seen Neto play that false 9. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think he thrived in that, and I think the team actually did pretty well. Again, I don't like it as a primary option, but it is an option that we've used in the past and that has worked, I think, for the time being until we know more about the Delap injury. I think that's definitely something that should be considered. But Collins.
Well, I'll say here's our fixtures for the next 8 weeks. And let me know if you want Pedro Neto starting at striker in any of these. Brentford away, Bayern away, United away, Brighton at home, Benfica at home, Liverpool at home, Forest away, Ajax at home, Sunderland at home.
Half of them I'd be fine with.
I feel like at that point you're either prioritizing the Champions League or the Premier League.
Aren't you going to be doing that either way? When push comes to shove, aren't you going to be prioritizing one over the other?
In September,
Depending on how things start going, one way or the other.
it's an Arsenal mindset.
Just saying.
One other option was what we saw today, which was Tyreek George played striker. Any thoughts on that, boys, long term? I think from what I heard, he's played a little bit of striker in his youth days.
My jury's still out for me on Tyreek George in the Premier League. I'm still not fully convinced. But I've been surprised before. I'd be okay being surprised again.
Tyreek George will be gone by the end of the weekend.
Not anymore, he's not.
As of this morning, our time, negotiations underway. Permanent deal with a sell-on clause to AS Roma. I agree. I thought he didn't look half bad out there, but I think he's gone.
The thing about him that impressed me last year was his finishing. So to see him in a 9 role, like I didn't hate the idea of it. It surprised me when I saw him come on, and then I thought about it and I was like, oh, I'm intrigued. He didn't do much for us in his Fulham match, but I think with a little bit of game planning, because he probably didn't expect to come on as a 9 in this match, I think he would be all right, sort of as a suitable backup. But if he's gone, then that's out of the question.
So with only, let's see, about a day and a half left of the transfer window, is there anybody you guys have your eye on that could be a dark horse that you think is a lock for us to sign? Any hot takes out of you guys?
Yes, but I don't think it's going to happen. I would want it to happen, but I want Mark Gahey. That deal hasn't been done yet, and I feel like, and you guys tell me if I'm smoking shit here, but like the fee that's being talked about, 35-40 million pounds for captain of a team, an England capped team, like seems really reasonable for a 25-year-old central defender that's got to be like top 7, 5 center backs in the league right now. Doesn't seem crazy to me at all.
I think part of that is his height. He's undersized as a center back, and not the most mobile. So I think some of that is kind of long-term projection on him. I think absolutely he fits in, and he's about the same level as Trev in our starting 11. Yeah, I think when Levi comes back, Gahey would be your Trev on the other side.
So, Collins, we're gonna do a quick. Do you remember this player?
Ooh,
So I'm looking right now at the list of current free agent center forwards,
Luka Jovic.
shall we say? Oh no, sorry, he didn't make the cut. Somebody still is paying him. But I'm looking at the free agents who are available. These are some gems. I just want to throw that out there. So let me float a couple names at you. Paco Alcacer, Patty Bamford.
Yes.
You want to
Bring him
talk
home.
about a redemption tour? It's got all the makings for it. That's right in your wheelhouse. Let's see who else we have. A fan favorite of the pod, Jamie Vardy. We all know that one. Diego Costa. Also, all of these are under 3 million, mind you. According to Transfer Market, they're under 3 million. So you can get somebody to fill that void, somebody serviceable to fill that void for 5 mil. Is that an option?
Diego Costa in the squad would be interesting. Bring Nico Jackson back and bring in Diego Costa and just have him be his wrangler.
Mm-hmm.
Sign John Obi Mikel.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been weirdly quiet today. That fucking guy.
Flip flopper.
Yep.
But I'm just saying, just like looking through some of these names, it takes you down memory lane, but it's also like, yeah, they could be fine for a month or two. So I mean, what's not to throw something out there and see if anything kind of sticks.
But what has been confirmed is that we're not getting Xavi Simons, of course, going to Tottenham after they quote unquote stole that one, even though we never submitted a bid. We signed Garnacho on permanent, and what's his name? But Bonanote on loan from Brighton, just a straight loan, with the caveat of we have first right of refusal or first right to match any offers that come in for him after this season. Any of that excite you guys?
The Garnacho one's polarizing and interesting. And I I don't know. I have very mixed opinions in my own head. Months ago I thought he'd be a good fit. And then, I see him show up at Stamford Bridge in a Chrome Hearts t-shirt and he's on his phone the whole time and stuff like that pisses me off. So I I hope he gels in. I hope he kind of fits in, but this squad is built on guys who give a shit and who play for each other. And his reputation at United was not that. So I hope for whatever reason, he's Argentinian, right? So I hope him and Enzo have some sort of connection, and Enzo's one of our leaders that he can kind of whip him into shape a little bit and make sure he's doing his part. But it's a relatively low risk move for the fee that we got him on. The thing I brought up to you guys was, is he better than Jadon Sancho? Because we had the ability to buy Jadon Sancho for 25, and we bought Garnacho for 40, and we paid a fee to not sign, to not sign Sancho. So if you take all that into consideration, um, I kind of wish I had the devil I knew in this situation instead of the devil I don't. But the devil I don't has a higher ceiling. So who knows?
Garnacho at Parks, you're spot on. I have never been a fan of him since day one. Collins, you obviously know why. When you and I voted most punchable face in the Premier League, he was at the top, very top of our list, right next to Jordan Pickford and Casemiro. Just I don't know, something about him. I know Aiden listens to the pod, but Garnacho to me looks like he was built from Minecraft. He just does. Just a square head and just also what's he doing with his hair? I'd love to know that because whoever his stylist is should be shot. But in any event, I've seen the quote unquote brilliance that he has. Unfortunately, it all ties back to a single goal. It's he had a hot streak for maybe a month and a half, and then it was just nothing. Granted, I will give him the fact that United is an absolute dumpster fire, top to bottom right now. It's just a dumpster fire. That's not really a good environment to thrive in, right? Some can do it, some can't. Realistically, nobody's thriving at Man United right now. That's just the way that it is. So he was not in a good environment, an environment that is kind of what we're building at Chelsea. Very, you play for the team, you play for the people that are with you out on the pitch. That is your team. That's what you do. It's gonna be very interesting to see how he takes to that after playing at United for so long, right? Going from dysfunctional to function. What does that look like? Can he fit into that? That's going to be the biggest question. If he can fit into that and mold to our style, I think he can thrive, but that is a very big if based on everything I've seen from him playing at United. I hope that it works out, but I'm very leery of what could happen. And if we're just getting the same individual we got at United, regardless of what system he's in.
So I think he's an upgrade over Jadon Sancho, and I honestly see a lot of similarities between the two, not in their style of play, but in some of the things that you guys had mentioned. Off the field antics or issues, Jadon Sancho is reported to have all kinds of them at Manchester United. We didn't see any of that here. In fact, we were told what a great leader he was by his teammates. Something tells me that Mason Mount's dad is spreading a lot of misinformation about Manchester United players. We saw that at Chelsea. A lot of people being thrown under the bus when Mason Mount was here. Not a lot since he left. So I take off the field issues at Manchester United with a grain of salt. Uh, you know, being famous for one goal or for a hot streak over a couple months, Jadon Sancho. He had a couple good months at Borussia Dortmund, turned that into a huge transfer at United, didn't do shit. Then came here and did a little bit. I would say he set the world on fire. And so, if we're coming in and or Garnacho's coming in, you want him to be at the same or better than Jadon Sancho, I think it's a lock on that. Here's the reason why I think even if he's just the same, it's an upgrade. The salary. You could have had Jadon Sancho. He didn't want to take a pay cut. There's a reason why he's still not with another club besides Manchester United. You would have been paying him 300K a week to sit on your bench and be your second choice left winger. I haven't seen Garnacho's contract yet, but if it fits within the Chelsea pay structure, it's gonna be about 100K. Cool. Save money right there. You got somebody younger who puts up the same type of numbers, is friends with and publicly friends with our vice captain. I don't foresee an issue here. I think he'll be fine at Chelsea. I don't think he's gonna set the world on fire, but he'll be fine.
I think the nice thing is there's a lot of competition at that left wing. So it's not like he is the heir apparent to just come in and start. And because, like, Noni Madueke had a lot of issues on and off the field, and his attitude was talked about a lot. But there wasn't a ton of competition for his spot, so he played a lot. Whereas, that left wing is crowded with Gittins, Neto, and him kind of all fighting for one spot. And Neto's the only one that's sort of transferable in that spot where he can go to the right if needed, but that right is also kind of crowded as well. So I think it'll be one where he has to fight for it. And I think this is going to be a Maresca issue of, can Maresca kind of get the most out of him? I think this is where I like to rank managers is man management. Guy like this, can you take someone who had a little bit of a troubled past? Can you get the best out of him? Can you get the most out of someone like a Garnacho? And if so, that's where I'll give him my flowers. I don't buy into just the wins and losses and things. I buy more into eye test of situations like this.
Last question, gun to your head. Is the Xavi Simons saga as negative as people are painting it to be? Keep in mind, Chelsea Twitter was on fire.
You want to know what I'm most upset about? Is the they're gonna have their own version of the Willian chant where the shits from Spurs bought the flight. Like now they're gonna have their own version of the reverse of Xavi Simons picking them over us. Otherwise, I'm fine.
I've talked about it enough. Our trend with players coming over from RB Leipzig to Chelsea, it has not paid dividends. I'm fine with it. He's going to Tottenham. Who knows what you're getting at Tottenham these days? I mean, Richarlison is scoring, so hell must be freezing over at this point. Who knows, right? Who knows what's going to happen? I'm curious to see where he's going to play because you probably won't take out Brennan Johnson. You're not going to take out Kulusevski. Where's he going to go? So I'm very curious as to what that's going to look like. And I don't know. I mean, anything's possible, right? I have no issue with him as a player. Wish him all the best, but he's going to a club that has a reputation, shall we say, of not doing a whole lot with big transfers. I think it could be another one of those scenarios.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of Spurs spreading misinformation. Need to put in a Donald Trump fake news drop in this pod with all the misinformation, but
Allegedly.
allegedly. Uh, but their whole promo of him on the signing was, "We called, he answered," because that was his thing in the presser of, "Well, Tottenham called, so that's why I'm here." And so Tottenham are presenting that as, oh yeah, the deal was all done with Chelsea. We called, and he chose us. No, 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 no. We never submitted a bid. We were in talks for Leipzig for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and nothing changed. No bid was submitted. You did not steal him from us. This is not Willian, where we called him during his medical with you and said, "Hey, you want to come to Chelsea?" And he's like, "All right, guys, I gotta catch the bus. See you later." Um, this is just more little brother Tottenham. All right, well, boys, to wrap it up, let's play a couple games here. Number one, our hot take bets. I am 0 for 2 this year. You guys are both 2 and 0. Congratulations. Episode one or week one, we had over under 1.5 or 0.5 Instagram posts from West Fofana with 0 minutes played. You guys took the under on that and won. Last week, Parker presented over under 2.5 goals for Chelsea versus Tottenham. I took the over. You guys took the under. You guys won. So, Matt, it is your turn as we head into the international break here. What random hot take bet would you like to throw out there for us?
That's a beautiful segue because that's right where I'm going is international footy. So this came across my news feed. We have 3 call-ups to the Brazil national team. We have João Pedro, Andre Santos, and Esteval. Brazil plays Chile and Bolivia over international break. So here is the line that I am going to throw out to you guys. The 3 players combined over under 6.5 total goal contributions for those 3.
Over under 6.5 goal contra. I thought you were gonna go goals. I was be like, oh, that's easy. Goal contributions though.
I
Man, you
was
might
gonna
have,
go with goals and go 3.5, but I'm like, nah, goal contributions I think is gonna be a little bit more difficult.
especially when you get the double whammy of Santos sets up Esteval. And boom, there's 2-on-1 right there. Parker, what do you think?
I'm on the under.
Under 3 weeks in a row. All right. Then I'll take the over for the third week in a row. Matt, how about you?
I'm gonna go with the under, but I
For the
think it's
third
gonna
week in a
be
row.
I think it's gonna be at 6. I don't think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be very close.
I think we need to start bumping these numbers down.
Extra credit if it's a disallowed goal.
I'm gonna go for the push, straight up 6.5.
That's the disallowed goal is the half.
5.5. Parker or Matt, are you going over then?
Yeah, I'm gonna go over if it's 5.5.
All right,
That makes it a little bit more interesting then.
we'll make it we'll make 2 bets here. One for a 6.5, one for a 5.5. Don't need people saying that we cheated a game that we set up.
Collusion.
All right. Well, for something that people are involved in, that is our man of the match, man to get the fuck out of here awards. So, Parker, thank you for posting those today. Who did we have? I did not vote.
um, one moment, please. I feel like I could probably do it from memory, but I'll get the exact. For man of the match, we had Gusto, Joao Pedro, Caicedo, and Trev. I feel like our defense played relatively well.
Yeah, and Caicedo had that fantastic tackle to save a goal. That might have been man of the match worthy right there.
You know, Caicedo on a yellow might be my favorite player to ever play ever. Like he turns into God when he gets that yellow card. It's almost like he goes Super Saiyan. Like it's pretty incredible.
Prime Conte on a yellow. I'm gonna go João Pedro. Scores a goal, game-winning goal, and then clears one off the line. Probably didn't even know he did it, but on the other end. So João Pedro for me.
I went Malo Gusto. I thought it was the best match I've seen Malo Gusto play in over a year. This was like prime, not last season, but the season before Malo Gusto. Played great defensively and had a pretty good touch when he like attacked. I haven't seen a complete game out of him in a minute. So for the surprise factor, I'm giving it to him.
And for my own personal bias, because I'm a fan of him, I'm gonna give it to Trev. I think he, in these first three starts, he has been as consistent as you could hope for given our center back situation. I think he has been probably outplaying what his normal value is. So I'll give it to him just as more of a shout out than anything.
Well, Matt, your eye test that wasn't an eye test today won the who scored. He was our highest rated player on who scored today.
I don't even have to watch these things anymore. I just know.
He got
I
zero
hate that
votes.
Matt and who scored are now aligned. So Parker, who won the poll?
Joao Pedro was kind of the overwhelming favorite.
All right. Well, man, to get the fuck out of here. What do we have for options there?
Yeah, some fun ones. I'm biased on my 5:15 a.m. wake up call, which wasn't everybody's 5:15 a.m. wake up call. Plus 16 minutes of stoppage time, hamstrings, and Marco Silva. And I picked 5:15 a.m. wake up call just because if I don't have to wake up that early, I don't like to. So that can get the fuck out of here for me.
All right. So 5:15 a.m. wake up call.
Plus 16 minutes of stoppage time,
16 minutes stoppage. Marco Silva and hamstrings.
hamstrings.
I like Marco Silva. I agree with the stoppage time. I didn't wake up till 11, so I think I got to go with hamstrings.
Hamstrings. I was up in time to watch the match, so I can understand the early wake up. I was I was up early enough. I like you. I don't mind Marco Silva. The stoppage time, I'm gonna reference a stat that I shared with you guys. I'm surprised it wasn't a Liverpool game. Yeah, hamstrings.
Hammy's won the poll by a considerable margin. We do not have good luck with hamstrings.
Our man of the get the fuck out of here winners this year have been fantastic so far. We've got Todd Bowley on the phone, Chelsea fans, no front of shirt sponsor, me supporting Graham Potter, Step Brothers t-shirt, white seats, 5:15 wake up call, and hamstrings.
Yeah, buddy.
Make sure to check out our polls. We're on social media at Flag Down Pod. Those usually posted up on X immediately after the game. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. As always, we appreciate any feedback you got for us. Spotify now has a great feature where you can chat with us. So make sure to check that out. For those of you who like Matt and Parker, too bad it's me who runs it, so you got to talk to me.
Nobody
Boys,
likes me, so it's definitely going to be Parker that they want to talk to.
Twitter.
at DJ Parkour. All right, boys, any closing thoughts?
Fuck the international break.
I'm going to go the opposite. Thank God for the international break. Gives Liam some time to rest that hammy.
Oh, God, I need to start tracking these too. These are great. All right. Cheers, boys.
Later.
Later.